Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing and to the official Moza Racing track guide for the FIA F4 Global Esports Championship, this time at Nurburgring Sprintstrecke for yet another track guide. If you're new to my channel, what we do is a hot lap, then a breakdown, then we are back in the cockpit one final time with the driving line on. Any questions, do let me know in the comments. Let's start the hot lap. Right, just before we start, just to let you know, the brake bias was set to 56% and I was on low fuel, so I did just run until I ran out, so take that into account. Let's go. So we're smashing it down the main straight, looking for the 100 meter board on the left-hand side. As we get there, we brake up to about 90%, drop it all the way down to second gear, long trail off, back on the gas, over to the right-hand side, up to third. Now we do a big lift. And then we gradually ease back on the pressure. Nice wide entry into turn 3. Brake sharply, trail it off, down to second gear, up to third. Little confidence lift at this apex, back on the gas. Little bit slippy on exit, got to keep the right-hand tyres on the track. Now we're looking for the 50 board, and just before we get there, brake up to about 75%. Again, trail off down to second gear, on the gas as fast as you can, back over to the right-hand side. Looking for the 50 board, and we're just going to do a lift in fourth gear, back on the gas, back over to the left-hand side, and now another lift, so no brakes needed in those two corners. Exit nice and wide, but don't ground your car on that exit curbing. As we go up through the gears and up the hill, sweep back over to the right-hand side as we're coming into the tricky final chicane. And we're looking for just before the 50 meter board, braking up to about 90%, down to second gear, now absolutely flat through the second apex. Nice wide entry into this final corner. And we're braking up to about 50%, dropping it down to third gear, and again on the gas as early as possible. It's going to be a lot of fun racing around here this week. And we've got the breakdown lap coming up next. Right, breakdown. Right, so we're looking for this 100 meter board. As we get there, we're going to brake briefly up to nearly 90%. Wipe all that speed off, trail it off down to the apex, getting down to second gear. Once we get there, back on with the gas, up to third. And now we're going to do a lift once we can see the apex of the corner. And back on the gas, so we're back on 100% midway through the corner here. We want a nice wide entry. The braking mark is basically where it levels out because you've been going downhill. And we brake briefly up to about 65%, then we trail it off, dropping it down to second, picking back up on the gas at the apex. Up to third gear, and we are doing a lift on the apex on the right-hand side. We've got to keep our right-hand tyres on the track. Now we're looking for just before the 50 board. So as you can see, I've just gone past the 100. We've got the 50 coming up ahead. Braking briefly up to about 75%. Trail it off down to second gear and wanting to pick back up on the gas, more or less where the apex of the corner is. Back over to the right-hand side. Now just before the 50 board, we're going to do a lift in fourth gear, down to nothing. Picking back up to sort of 3/4 pressure at the apex. Back over to the right-hand side. And again, once we manage to make it to the outside of the track, that's when we're going to do a lift again. And starting to pick back up to 100% on the apex once more. Right, for the chicane, we go through the 100, and it's basically midway through the 100 and the 50 board. We're going to brake briefly up to 90%, start trailing that off as we turn in, getting back on the gas at the first apex. So as we're hitting the apex, without hitting the sausage curb, we're already back on 50%. We're now back up to 100%, and that's where we're going to remain through the remainder of the chicane. And it is sort of tricky to pick the braking point for the final corner. We go over this white line, and then we wait it just a hair's breadth, and then we're braking up to about 50%. I don't know, about 4 car lengths before the cones coming up. Trail it off down to third, we start picking back up on the gas. And we're back up at 100%, trying to hug it as tight to the curbing as we can. And over and across the line we go. We've got one final version coming up next with the driving line on without me talking. Enjoy.